namaste, welcome, and aloha. Welcome to the verse titled Hearing About Krishna, the Transformative Power of Sacred Narratives. We've learned about the supreme destination and the path of transcendence. Now comes a practical question. What is the method? How do we actually reach that destination? Titled Hearing About Supreme Being. This verse reveals a surprisingly simple yet profoundly effective practice: the transformative power of hearing sacred narratives of Supreme Being or God. This is not passive entertainment, this is active transformation. Let us explore this powerful teaching. First, let us recite the verse in its original Sanskrit. Atah Pumbirvijashreshta Varnashram Vibhagasha Swanushtitasya Dharmasya Sansiddhirharitoshanam. These words reveal the purpose of all duties and the method of perfection. Let us understand what they reveal is. Now, let us go through the raw form of English translation of the verse. The translation, O best among the twice born, the perfect fulfillment of one's own prescribed duties, performed according to the divisions of Varna and Ashrama, is simply the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord, Hari. This reveals the ultimate purpose of all our activities. Let us explore what this means. Now let us look at some core teaching of this verse. This verse addresses a fundamental question. What is the purpose of all our duties and activities? Let us understand the key elements. First, Atah Pumbir Shrishta therefore, O best among the twice born by all people. Atha means therefore. This follows from what was said before. We've learned about the supreme destination. Now, how do we reach it? Pambhayav, by all people, by human beings. This is universal. This applies to everyone. Second, Varnashrama Vibhagasha, according to the divisions of Varna and Ashrama. Varnashrama is the Vedic social system. Varna refers to one's natural occupation or disposition. Ashrama refers to one stage of life. But the principle is universal. Everyone has duties according to their nature and circumstances. Student, parent, worker, retiree, whatever your position, you have duties. Third, swanustitasya dharmasya, of one's own prescribed duties properly performed. Svanushtita, one's own properly executed. Dharmasya, of duties, of responsibilities. This is not about someone else's duties. This is about your duties, your responsibilities, your role. Fourth, Subsidir Haritoshanam, the perfect fulfillment is the satisfaction of Lord Hari. Sastihya means perfection, complete success, ultimate fulfillment. Haritosnam, the satisfaction, the pleasure of Lord Hari. This is the key. The perfection of all your duties is not in the external result. The perfection is in satisfying the Supreme. You might be a parent. The perfection of parenting is not just raising successful children. The perfection is performing your duties with devotion to the Supreme. You might be a worker. The perfection of work is not just earning money or achieving status. The perfection is performing your work as service to something greater. This verse teaches whatever your duties, whatever your position, the perfection is in performing them with devotion in satisfying the Supreme Lord. Through hearing sacred narratives, devotion arises, and this devotion removes lamentation, illusion, and fear. This is the method: hearing, listening to sacred narratives, engaging with transcendent stories. Now let us look at some modern scientific parallels. This ancient teaching about the power of hearing sacred narratives corresponds to modern understanding of how stories shape us. First, consider narrative psychology, the study of how stories shape identity and behavior. Research shows that the stories we consume literally shape who we become. We don't just hear stories, we internalize them. They become part of our mental models. This is why Hearing about Supreme Being is transformative. You're not just learning information, you're absorbing a narrative that reshapes your consciousness. Second, consider Jonathan Haidt's research on elevation emotion. Haidt discovered that witnessing moral beauty, seeing acts of virtue, compassion, or transcendence produces a distinct emotion called elevation. Elevation inspires us. It makes us want to become better. It literally uplifts us. This is what happens when we hear about Supreme Being, about supreme virtue, supreme beauty, supreme love. We experience elevation. We are inspired to transcend. Third, consider bibliotherapy, the use of reading for mental health. Studies show that engaging with noble characters and uplifting narratives actually improves mental health. It reduces anxiety, depression, and despair. This is exactly what the verse says. Hearing about Supreme Being removes lamentation, illusion, and fear. Fourth, consider neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire based on experience. What you consume, what you read, what you watch, what you listen to literally rewires your neural pathways. Your media diet shapes your mind, and sacred narratives reshape your consciousness toward the divine. Let us now move on to some practical application as it relates to this verse. How do we apply this teaching in our daily lives? First, recognize that what you consume shapes who you become. This is not abstract, this is neuroscience. What you read, watch, and listen to literally rewires your brain. Your media diet is as important as your food diet, maybe more important. Second, consciously curate what you consume. Don't just passively scroll. Don't just consume whatever the algorithm feeds you. Actively choose content that elevates, choose narratives that inspire, choose stories that connect you to something greater. Third, engage with sacred narratives regularly. This could be reading scriptures. This could be listening to spiritual teachings. This could be hearing stories of saints and sages. Make this a practice. Not once in a while, regularly, daily if possible. Fourth, use stories as tools for transformation. When you hear about Supreme Being, about Supreme Love, Supreme Wisdom, Supreme Beauty, you're not just learning, you're being transformed. Let these narratives reshape your consciousness. Let them remove your lamentation, your illusion, your fear. Fifth, perform your duties with devotion haritoshannam. Whatever your role, parent, worker, student, citizen, perform your duties not just for external results, but as service to something greater. The perfection of your duties is not in achievement, the perfection is in devotion. Sixth, recognize that this is the method for Kali Yuga. In previous ages, people practiced meditation for thousands of years. They performed elaborate rituals. They underwent severe austerities. But in Kali Yuga, with short lifespan and fragmented attention, the method is simple: hearing, listening to sacred narratives. This is accessible, this is practical, this is the method for our age. Now let us look at how this verse can help our young people. For young people, this verse offers a crucial insight about your media consumption. You're the first generation to grow up with infinite content, infinite feeds, infinite streams. Here's what you need to understand: your feed shapes your mind. What you consume, podcasts, videos, books, social media, literally rewires your brain. This is not metaphor, this is neuroscience. Every video you watch, every post you read, every podcast you listen to, it's shaping your neural pathways. It's forming your consciousness. So the question is, what do you want to become? If you want to become anxious and distracted, consume anxiety inducing, fragmenting content. If you want to become elevated and inspired, consume content that uplifts. Choose narratives that connect you to something greater. Your media diet is your choice. Choose wisely. Now, let us look at how this verse can help our older generation folks. For those with more life experience, this verse speaks to your role as storytellers. You lived through decades. You accumulated wisdom. You witnessed transformation. Here's what's crucial to understand: the stories we tell shape culture. What narratives are you sharing with younger generations? What stories are you passing down? If we only share stories of material success, of competition, of acquisition, that's what the next generation will value. But if we share narratives of meaning, of courage, of wisdom, of devotion, we shape a culture of transcendence. You are the carriers of sacred narratives. You are the transmitters of wisdom. Share stories that elevate. Share narratives that connect to something greater. This is your contribution. This is your service. In conclusion, we can say this verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam reveals the method of transformation. The perfection of all duties is in performing them with devotion. What you consume shapes who you become. Choose content that elevates, engage with stories that inspire. Modern neuroscience validates this ancient teaching: what we consume literally rewires our brains. This makes the teaching both ancient and contemporary, both spiritual and scientific. Thank you for exploring this verse with me. Thank you, namaste, and mahalo for joining me in this exploration of this verse. Hearing about Krishna, the transformative power of sacred narratives. Now we will move on to next verse.